Hey, how's it going guys? Sam here bringing you guys another video. Today I'll be talking about my personal favorite heroes to use in Season 16 Solo Queue Ranked. There's only about 12 days left in the season, perfect time for some last minute push, so why not push with these heroes if you're gonna go solo queue like me. I'll be covering each class and which heroes I think are the most suited for solo queue in those classes, and giving a brief explanation on why I think that of those heroes. Without further ado though, let's get started. Let's start with the fighters, my personal main class and probably the biggest class outside of mages best suited for solo queue. I say that, but because I suck at mages, I only recommend 2 mages, kick. Anyhow, let's talk about the fighters. The first fighter I recommend for solo queue is my ex-main, Cho. Now, not the typical offlane assassin Cho, but the rotating offlaner fighter Cho. The man has had an omnipotent presence on the game ever since his release and has only dropped in usage recently due to his lack of sustain and longevity. He's been changed to be more of a damage user instead of the tanky crowd control machine he used to be. That being said, you can still get the best of both worlds by sacrificing more damage early to mid for sustain and picking up on the damage once again towards late game. Chances are you won't be one-shotting people, but you'll definitely be in fights a lot more and surviving them a lot more, providing critical crowd control with your ult and your knock-up skill 1. Next up is Freya, an absolute unit of a fighter post her rework and one of the strongest, if not the strongest offlaner in the game right now. She seems to have everything a fighter could want. Great sustain via shields, powerful knock-up and suction crowd control, huge AoE range which allows her to hit tanks and still manage to hit the carries behind the tank, an absolute monster. Please check out my friend 0ML if you want to learn more about Freya and her potential, for she has a huge amount of potential and is yet another fine offlaner slash teamfight fighter in this meta. Lastly is the Iron Fists of Fury, Badang, or Badong, who cares. A great offlaner that is pretty simple to use with a huge team impact. His ultimate is among the highest DPS in the game, along with Gord and Claude. His role is simple: engage and nuke the enemy carries, slash their entire team if possible, as much as possible so the allies can follow up for a wipeout. Thanks to his potent kit, he's easily one of the better comeback heroes if the enemies don't finish you off quickly. Whilst his basic role is basic, actually succeeding in those engages and other mastery techniques such as early game pressure definitely takes time. He's not hard to pick up, but definitely has a learning curve to mastery that is very rewarding. Overall, a fine offlaner and fighter for teams in this meta. Special mentions here for the fighter class are Sylvana and X-Borg. While Sylvana is a fine offlaner and is pretty easy to pick up, she doesn't meet her max potential in solo queue. She has good crowd control, damage, and sustain, but her true potential lies in actual team-orientated matches where she could be fully utilized as follow-up or setup, not in solo queue. That being said, she's still incredibly solid, so I have to put her here as a special mention. As for X-Borg, he's not exactly the same. He's just very solid and an option you can't ever go wrong with, but that's also exactly the problem. He's solid, but not crazy enough to go nabbing you comebacks or heavy snowballs. He's consistently good, but in order for someone like him to function at his best, you need a team with decent brain cells. And that's not always the case for solo queue, so that is why I cannot not also fully recommend him for solo queue, but instead as a special mention. Okay, next up are the assassins. In this class there's only one real option I would recommend, which is Hayabusa. Sure, you can carry with Hellcurt or Gujin or Lancelot, but in my opinion, those simply aren't reliable enough. Maybe it's just me being trash. Who cares? You don't have to listen if you think so. Hayabusa is the best solo queue assassin due to his objective prowess. He's an assassin who can function without blue buff, so there's no need to cry if the enemies are sweats and they invade. His split pushing power is incredibly consistent and will throw an enemy team off their rhythm and allow a comeback, or if he gets a lead, he's also a pretty good snowball hero. Next up are the tanks, of which I only think 2 are truly suitable for solo queue. The first one being Grok. Everyone saw it coming. The golem is simply too strong as a tank. His tank stats are among the highest in the game, and his mobility and size allows him to tank and peel easily. Crowd control skill heading towards your carry? No problem. Charge up skill 1 and tank it. Assassin on your carry? Use your ultimate to do good amount of damage and cause a knockup, or your skill 1 to simply get him to get the hell out of there. He's amazing for invasions and defending against invasions. Overall, a great tank you cannot go wrong with. Now, the second option, Khufra, is mostly banned, but if you can get him, you probably should. Whilst he can't tank hits like Grok can, his damage is amongst that of Grok's damage, and he provides overwhelming crowd control compared to Grok. His skill 2 counters most of the game, stopping all dash heroes in their tracks and preventing them from going anywhere. His ultimate is a powerful push into a long stun skill, and his skill 1 is also a knock-up stun and has amazing range, creating ganks that didn't used to be possible. A superb tank for even in solo queue, which is why he's often banned. Alright, for the special mentions, there's a few tanks. Boxia, Atlas, Tigreal, and Akai. Boxia is mostly a counter tank. I would only recommend him for use when the enemy has 2 or more healing based heroes, including shields. So if they have Thomas, Esme, or Herif, for example, or Hylos and Herif, pick Boxia. Boxia's powerful 30% anti-heal passive early game will keep those heroes in check, along with his powerful skill 2 which does 5% of the enemy's max HP, pretty much countering Hylos to the ground early game. Combine his 30% with Necklace of Durance mid game for 80% anti-heal. Not even shield-based heroes like Esme will be able to function. Though much more difficult to use than a traditional tank, his skill 1 allows for unorthodox fast ganks that the opponents won't expect. His skill 2 is a great source of damage in teamfights, chunking down the enemy's tanks and slowing them from getting to the carry. His ultimate also boosts his damage reduction passive further, which allows him to tank just about every multi-hit hero in the game. His lava path created during his ultimate also has a special property. It does damage extremely fast, about every 0.5 seconds. Because of that attribute, it allows Boxia to steal Lord and Turtle, especially if it's at low HP due to his priority damage, which is faster than, say, a projectile. Overall, he's a superb counterpick tank, but because he is a counterpick tank, I can't recommend him for solo queue. As for Atlas, yes, he's banned, yes, he's good, but I personally don't consider him as dangerous as people say. Yes, he can suplex your entire team, but if you get trash randoms, it's not that useful. That being said, if you got good randoms, hell yeah, get Atlas, deliver those scrubs on a silver plate to your team. As for Tigreal and Akai, they're in the same boat. They're amazing tanks who have great peel and engage options. The problem is that they're completely team dependent. Unlike Boxia / Kufra, who completely shut down enemy heroes, and Grok, who's just too damn useful. That is why I don't consider any of these 3 my personal recommendations, but they're certainly good. Next up is the Mage class, also known as the Privileged class, but also known as the class I have literally no experience with. Anyhow, because of that, I'm only going to be recommending 2 mages that will be guaranteed to work or your money back. Okay, enough of that. First up is Valier. Yeah, everyone saw that coming. Think he was a permanent ban for a while in Southeast Asia. He's starting to become more of a common ban in North America as well, but it's still possible to get him. He really doesn't need much explanation. His passive makes his skills do % damage based on max HP, so he cucks tanks early game and late game, pretty much all throughout the game, but early game he's just great because he's an anti-invasion hero, and he's a crowd control machine with infinite skill 1s if you can aim, free purify and ult, and a powerful knockback skill 2 that peels, Kufras, fannies, all that kind of stuff. Overall, he's a great amazing hero for solo queue as a support or as a main mage. Next up is Gord, the absolute Chad himself. He's a mad lad when it comes to clearing waves and holding out for an epic comeback. His defense is literally near impenetrable with good positioning and if you maximize wave clearing. His only downside is a lack of mobility early game, but it's still a very powerful option for a comeback if you can hang in there. His damage is simply nuclear with his ult and with his skill 1 and skill 2 to provide amazing poke as well. He may not have a built-in purify like Valier and has limited escapes, but with proper positioning and proper battle spells according to the situation, whether that be purify, flame shot, or flicker, he's a superb mage for solo queue. Oh, and he can run mask just as fine as well. As for special mentions for the mages, there's a bunch, but I'm not going to be able to go into depth for any of them since I'm not very well versed in mages, but here's what I've been hearing people recommend. Zask, Harley, Aurora, Kagura, Farsha, and Lilia. Now then, for the marksmans, they're very self-explanatory and nothing is really surprising here. All the typical meta marksmans do well in solo queue, so I'm not going to be really spending time on any of them, but here they are. Claude, Granger, Bruno, Carey, and Kimmy. Lastly are the supports. Though there's a lot of great supports out there, the only 2 supports I recommend for solo queue due to their carry potential are Kaja and Framus. Let's talk about Kaja, who was always strong and useful, and how he became even deadlier. Kaja has always had the potential to insta-kill a carry with a full combo. However, he wasn't unstoppable. His ultimate used to be purifiable, immunable. However, they recently buffed, or I suppose, patched his ultimate to have actual suppression, meaning it takes ultimate priority over everything. It cannot be purified, immune, under any circumstances. The only way to stop it is by CCing Kaja during the cast, which is near impossible due to the cast time being very low. Due to his newly buffed ultimate, Kaja can stop anyone. Claw during ultimate, cancel via suppression. Badang, same case. If you also build him to have some bursts as well, he can easily kill them with a full combo, meaning he doesn't need to rely on teammates as much. A powerful quote-unquote support hero that's gonna get more popular / banned sooner rather than later. Lastly, we have the support Friedrich, who's in a similar situation like Kaja. He's just another mage branded as a support. He's the ultimate comeback material in the sense he maximizes his allies, even if they're brain dead. Thanks to his powerful passive that allows him to respawn in 3 seconds if he has max souls, he's always ready to defend, even if you get wiped out. His skill 2 is nuclear late game and is great at clearing waves. His skill 1 allows him to literally become a tank for a while and provides fairly good crowd control. His ultimate allows him and his nub allies another chance in teamfights and wipe out as much of the enemy team as possible, which usually results in a near wipeout on both sides. But once again, since Friedrich has that short respawn time and it allows him to defend. Overall, he's an amazing hero for solo queue when it seems like all hope is lost and you're stuck with a bunch of one tricks that doesn't adjust, because Friedrich can be the tank, he can also be the mage. And that's it, guys. Those are all the heroes I would recommend for solo queue for Season 16. There's not many days left, only 12 days, but it's enough for one final push. If you're having trouble with solo queue, maybe try these heroes out and see where it takes you. Good luck everyone, until next time. Peace.